Hey friends, welcome back to the Special Kind of Motherhood podcast. Okay, so last week we actually talked about 3 different ways I have found to be really beneficial for actually getting rid of processed food, ditching eating out, and cooking from home. One of those ways I talked about was making sure that you actually have a well-stocked pantry. This can feel extremely overwhelming on how do I even get started? How do I start if I don't feel like I have the funds to do it? All of that. So today I actually want to share with you how you can start stocking your pantry without the overwhelm. Let's get started. Hi friend, do you dream of having a garden but you don't know where to start? Do you want to switch to more natural products but feel overwhelmed by all the options? Do you believe that a holistic lifestyle would help your special needs kiddo but you're daunted by all the information out there? Welcome to the Special Kind of Motherhood podcast, where you will learn how to work towards your dream for homesteading, gardening, and holistic living in small, simple steps that won't overwhelm you. Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm a wife, Jesus follower, and mom to some amazing kids. As some of my kids began experiencing health struggles and developmental delays, I decided it was time to switch to a holistic lifestyle. I quickly became stressed out and burnt out, feeling like I needed to change everything at once. I finally realized that I had to start making one small change at a time, then build from there. I learned to walk this holistic journey in a way that works for me and my family, without stress or overwhelm or constantly feeling like I wasn't doing enough. If you're ready to hear from another mama who understands what it's like to have no time and who can help you make changes towards better health for your family in a way that works for your specific life, then this is the podcast for you. Pop in your earbuds, reheat your coffee for the 3rd time, and let's do this. Hey mamas, have you been looking for a like-minded community that is interested in holistic health, in gardening and homesteading and all the things, but also those moms who understand what it's like to parent a differently abled child? Well, come join us over in my free community where we chat about all of these things and where you can just find a group of like-minded mamas who are looking to support one another. You can find it at bit.ly/motherhood-community. That's bit.ly/MOTHERHOODCOMMUNITY. I cannot wait to see you guys over there. Okay, so when it comes to stocking a pantry, this can feel very overwhelming, right? It can feel like, my goodness, I'm juggling enough already. I'm really trying to help my child as they're working through some challenges. Maybe they are really struggling with attention. Maybe they are struggling with their speech. I have all of these things I'm juggling on my plate, and the idea of stocking a pantry just feels so low on the priority list that it just doesn't even seem like it's possible for me to do it. Well, I want to say I have been there. I understand, but I also want to say you can do it in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming and that feels very small, very step-by-step, that can be very doable, that can fit within your budget. It can work for you and your budget. It is possible, and I promise you, if you can keep a well-stocked pantry, it's going to take away a lot of the stress when it comes to meal times. It's also going to take away a lot of that big time investment that you might spend weekly grocery shopping and meal planning and all of those things. So what I want to say is the first step that you need to do is actually decide a budget. So what is it that you feel you could give in your grocery budget to start getting a few extra things? This could be as small as $5. Maybe it's just you're going to get an extra box of gluten-free pasta, an extra can of jarred pasta sauce, whatever it is that you're able to do. But start first with saying, hey, I think I have $5, $10, $15 extra that I can do a week or however often you go grocery shopping. And I'm going to dedicate that amount of money towards starting to stock up my pantry. And of course, depending on how much extra money you have, that's going to determine how quickly you can do this. But you can absolutely do it with $5, and you will be surprised at how quickly it accumulates over time. So that's what you want to do first. Make a very intentional decision. I'm going to dedicate this amount of money, and I'm going to start shopping and getting extras. The second thing that I would say is you're going to want to take your list of your seasonal meals, like we talked about, those 10 to 12 meals that you are going to cook for this season. So right now we're in the season of fall. What are those 10 meals, 12 meals that I'm planning on? And then do I have any extras that I might want to look at trying some new recipes and things like that? And you're just actually going to write out the ingredients that you would need for those meals. That's going to give you a list of, hey, I have this budget that I want to set. Now here are some things that some targeted things that I want to start stocking up on. That way you're not just kind of blindly buying stuff, putting stuff in your pantry, in your cart that you don't actually need. It doesn't really have intention behind it. We want to be very intentional about the things we are getting. And then the third thing that you're going to want to do is just begin working towards this goal of having enough of these ingredients for 1 month's worth of those meals. So this may take you some time. It's going to depend on how much you're able to spend in your budget as far as actually stocking up on these things. You're also going to want to, part of number 3 is, as you're working towards this goal, you're going to want to make sure that you have the space to store these things. You can get very creative. You could put a shelf somewhere. You could use a closet. We have a pantry, but you can just get very creative with how you're able to store these things. But I think just taking that time to intentionally say, hey, this is where I'm going to store it. I know if I'm going to use this meal maybe twice in a month, then I need this number of boxes of pasta, this many jars of pasta sauce, this many pounds of ground beef, and so on. And so if you're like me, I actually really thrive on lists and on having like goals to meet. So for me, taking the time to actually write out the list, and then, I would put, okay, I've decided for a month's worth, we're going to eat this meal maybe twice a month. I feel safe having it twice a month or whatever. Then I would write down beside each item the number of things that I need. And then it feels very satisfying to me to be able to like mark down, okay, I needed 2 of those. Now I have 1. Now I can scratch this off my list. It just feels very good. It keeps me very organized. And I feel like it gives kind of that positive feedback of realizing that you are seeing something marked off the list. You're seeing the number go down, and it's giving you that positive reinforcement that, hey, you're making good progress on this goal. And we know that once we have that well-stocked pantry, we're going to feel a lot more at ease in quickly preparing meals for our home from our home. And the thing about it is once we actually reach this goal, you're going to be very surprised at just how much less stressed you're going to feel about making meals and about just mealtime in general. You're going to feel a lot more relieved in knowing you're giving your family good quality foods and the things that you feel good about feeding them. Also, like I've mentioned in last week, you're going to be able to save money by not going to the store as much. And I have found I save time because I'm not having to go once every week or once every 2 weeks and spend quite a bit of time at the grocery store. For me, now that I've built up my pantry enough, I just go once a month. Maybe that's not your goal though, but even still, maybe it's not 1 month for you. Maybe you want to have enough for 2 weeks. Start with that. Get those ingredients you need enough for 2 weeks, and then don't think about it again. Just working towards that goal, I think, can be very, very helpful in also helping with any kind of decision fatigue we feel around meal times, and in just giving us kind of that path of least resistance when it comes to making meals. Because a lot of times we resort to fast food and things like that because it is the path of least resistance. Whereas if we already know some good meals that we have that we can provide for our family that they will eat, and we know we have all the ingredients for them, that feels a lot easier to just go ahead and make the food. And then I think the 4th step that you actually need to do is to just evaluate which meals, as far as like breakfast, lunch, dinner, which of those meals are you most likely to eat foods that you aren't going to be happy with? And that's what I would say you should focus on first and foremost. So as far as when it comes to, we're talking about this, you want to make a list of those seasonal meals. You want to work towards the goal, like figure out how many you need for those meals, all of that. Work towards that goal of getting those ingredients. What I would say to start with is look at your life. Which area do you feel the least happy with how your family is eating? That's where I would start. If it's breakfast, start with different breakfast foods that you can keep on hand. I love breakfast because it's something that you can very easily prep ahead of time if you have a couple hours on the weekend and freeze stuff. And that honestly, you can have enough food for an entire month if you have the freezer space. We do things like gluten-free pancakes, different kind of egg casseroles, breakfast burritos for my husband. I can't have them because of the flour tortillas, but that's something that my husband can have and he eats as well. You could do waffles. There are French toast. There are a lot of different options that you can do for your family that you could just quickly make up a giant batch of something prior to it and then stick it in the freezer. But if it's something like lunches, well then what are some quick lunches that you feel good about your family having? Maybe that's going to require you to make sure you've prepped ahead some fruits and vegetables that are already cut up and ready to go. That's something I've found to be very beneficial, is having those vegetables already washed and cut up really increases our chances of actually eating those things instead of them sitting and rotting in the refrigerator. Anyone else, or is that just me? Just taking the time as soon as I get home from the store to wash them and cut them up has been super beneficial. But just evaluate What are those areas? What are those kind of those weak spots in your dinner meal routine? And is it dinner? Is it breakfast? Is it lunch? Really evaluate that and then focus on that. I think if you can get wins in those areas where you actually feel the most guilt, most likely, and you feel like you're failing the most, if you can get a quick win in those areas, it's really going to motivate you to continue on down this path. And like I said, keeping that list is also going to give you that positive reinforcement that, hey, I am doing well. I am making progress on this goal. And that's going to also keep you motivated to actually get your pantry stocked. The last thing I want to say is really, it can sound and feel very daunting and overwhelming, but it really isn't. All it takes is just a little bit of intentionality. It might mean sitting down for an hour and, like I said, deciding what's your weak area, what meal time category do you want to focus on first and foremost, and then just getting that list and writing down how many of each of those things you need and just start working through that list. It can be very easy. It just takes a little bit of intentionality, a little bit of time of planning, and absolutely getting input from your family. Anyone that can, ask them, hey, which meal do you feel like we struggle with the most? Or if you already know this is the meal, like it's definitely dinner, then start asking them, hey, and this is what I do with my husband. Like, I'm going to switch our meal rotation. Do you have any ideas of anything you want to try? Is there anything you want on the list? Just getting that input from your family also gives them buy-in because you're making foods that they really enjoy. And so that means that they're going to actually like to eat from home versus just eating out or eating these processed foods. So finding those things that you feel comfortable with, that you feel good about, and that your family enjoys, I think can be very, very beneficial. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I hope that you will come join us over in our free Facebook community. You can find us at bit.ly/motherhoodcommunity. Come join us over there and share with us how it is going. Are you working on stocking your pantry? What meals are you adding into your meal rotation? I really love focusing on the pantry and on the food that we eat and finding ways to streamline it and make it simple, because it can feel very overwhelming and it can feel like we're spending so much of our life revolved around food, or we have so much guilt and shame around feeling like we aren't doing a good enough job. And I just want to say to you, you're not failing. You're doing the best you can for your family. And it's absolutely great that you're listening and you're trying to learn new skills. You're trying new things. You are doing the best job that you can for your family. And I think that's wonderful. I just want to encourage you, just keep going, keep growing, keep learning, and you will get there. You'll look back and you'll think, wow, my family really does eat in a way that I feel good about 90% of the time, and I don't know how we got there, but it feels amazing. I know this because this has been my family's journey, and I know the same can happen for you. I hope you guys have a great week. I'll see you back next time. Hey Mama, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who is wanting to live more holistically without the overwhelm? Also, don't forget to head over to Apple Podcasts to leave me a review. It blesses and encourages me to know that this show is helping you. All right, friends, it's time for me to go work in the garden and make some homemade bone broth. I will see you back next week.